A cop jolts awake with fresh scratches on his arm. There are no pets in the house, and nobody's home. It's been a year of doorstops flicking, strange footsteps down the hallway, and thick cigar smoke blown in his face. It started in Baumholder, Germany, and he thinks something has followed him home. This is the Baumholder case. One night, while stationed at Baumholder, Paul heard scraping on the inside of his wall, like a metal coin scraping down concrete. He said when he got up to check it out, it would stop. When he sat back down, it started again, as if something was playing with him. Baumholder has a dark history. It was occupied by German forces during World War II. It has underground tunnels, rooms sealed off from the war, and it is true that prisoners died here during the war from inhumane conditions like starvation and exposure to the elements. I looked on social media and found forums and posts from many people who had served at Baumholder in the past and had many stories just like this. There's entire Facebook groups dedicated to peculiar stories at this base. One was from an individual named Joseph who was at Baumholder from 2021 to 2024. He describes door banging at random hours, voices, the sense of being watched, which spiked for a month. Prayer eventually calmed it down. On top of all of this, Jeffrey Dahmer, the notorious serial killer, served there from 1979 to 1981. I had no idea. There were assault allegations by his roommates and unsolved murders in the nearby town while he was there. Years later, police reopened those investigations to see if Dahmer was involved, but nothing was ever proven. But this paints a striking picture about the evil that has been present there over time, and suddenly Paul's experience doesn't seem that out of place. What's strange is that when Paul got home from the army, more activity actually began. The first event occurred soon after he returned home when he was trying to sleep. He said, "There was an evil presence in my room, and he felt like it wanted to do him harm. He was so afraid, the most afraid he's ever been in his adult life, that he had to go downstairs and sleep on the couch with his brother and avoid his room." During the interview, when I asked him if it could be sleep paralysis or something else, he said he was sure he had been wide awake and not been asleep. The next events that began to occur was when he would watch TV or do things in the house. He would hear the spring-loaded doorstops flick somewhere down the hall. And if you don't know what these are, they're metal coiled around with a rubber tip at the end. They're a passive device that need to be engaged to make any kind of sound or move. They don't just go off by themselves. And of course, there was no one home during these events. Other nights, they would hear people walking down the hallway. When they would go and check, no one would be there. The same event was heard by multiple witnesses. Next, thick cigar smoke is blown in his face at random times during the night and the day. He's checked multiple places in his home for the source. He can't find it and he doesn't know where it's coming from. And if all this isn't creepy enough, then he wakes up with fresh scratch marks on his arm, which changed everything for him. Before, it was passive and it never harmed him physically, and now he was getting physical scratches on his skin. He immediately sent those to my brother Tim and myself, the same photos we are about to show you now. So what do we make of all this? Let's look at what we have and don't have. Scratch photos, multiple angles. Paul's service history at Baumholder is confirmed. These are multiple events stretched over months. We have corroboration. Other people in the house have heard the doorstops flicking, the footsteps, and Baumholder has multiple paranormal accounts. What we don't have, third-party sensor data. HVAC pressure change info for the doorstops at night. This kind of falls into categories of other types of doorstops, but the ones we're talking about, this really doesn't have any impact. Air sampling when the cigar smoke hit, any official incident report tied to a specific building at Baumholder. We did reach out to them to ask if they had any documented paranormal accounts there that they could share with us, or any chaplain or clergy reports where houses were blessed or exorcisms were performed, but unfortunately due to the government shutdown, they were unable to provide this information. Could Paul have scratched himself in his sleep? Sure. But the size and shape is a little peculiar, and what's more odd is it's at the tail end of all these other events. We had a board-certified dermatologist review Paul's scratch photos. He said this kind of crisscrossing pattern is almost always caused by some kind of external contact. While it doesn't prove what caused it, it is consistent with trauma from the outside. As a dermatologist put it, whether you think this means it's something physical or something supernatural depends on your worldview. Let's take a look at natural versus paranormal explanations. The doorstops. Air pressure and flows can do weird things, but I grew up with these on the doors and I never saw this happen. If you guys can get one of these things to go off without flicking it or catching it on something, I want to see it because I don't believe it can happen. The smoke. Could it be neighbors, drafts, or something burning that he doesn't know about? I guess, but if it was something burning on the inside or outside of his home, you would eventually know it, and it wouldn't last over weeks or months. It would be much different if he was living inside an apartment where you can get smells from all over the complex. So here's the thing. When events cluster around one person with no prior history, begin in a place with a reputation, and then escalate, That pattern should get your attention every single time. Or you want to pretend like there's something else going on and you don't want to entertain the possibility of something you don't understand. Some tests we could run on that house for Paul. A couple mics near the door stops, maybe a time-lapse video, maybe monitoring when the HVAC system turned on and off just to make sure. Some nighttime audio of the hallway, a recorder at floor level to monitor footsteps and movement through the hallways at night compared to other sounds in the house. So you might be asking what we think actually happened. Tim and I have known Paul for almost 20 years. He's a law enforcement officer, he's been in the military, he's had psychological tests. We know he's not suffering some kind of mental condition, and we know or believe that he's not lying to us. You might not feel the same way because you don't know him, and that's understandable. It is anecdotal. But if you had to ask us if we thought something paranormal or strange happened to him, we'd say yes, based on the evidence as it is today. Much of what we cover on the podcast dives into these strange subjects because we want to know what is really out there. Some people will claim demons, other people energy, maybe even UFOs. But it's silly to us to think that we know everything about the universe or what may be interacting with us, just because we don't see it. Personally, I think maybe something could have attached itself to Paul while he was in Germany and followed him home. What that is, we'll let you decide. Thanks to Paul for sharing your story, and if you have something that you would like to share with us, please email us podcast@dadsdoomsdayguy.com, podcast@dadsdoomsdayguy.com, or fill out the Google Forms below in the description. Remember, you only have to share what you're comfortable with, and you can remain anonymous. Sometimes it feels good to get stuff off your chest. Until next time.